But it is a privilege to be able to stand specifically on a platform or a pulpit just in the Alton area, and especially even here in this church, because as I mentioned before, I stood over there, graduated kindergarten, and it was many years ago. I'm 45 now. Oh, thank you. Congratulations for graduating kindergarten. Yeah. But man, and then after that, though, I grew up in a Christian family and grew up in a Christian school, and I had Sister Mary, and the Yingers and the Lileys, and other people that came from Alpha Chapel, and planted many seeds in my heart, and especially in my home with my father. But I still went the way of one of Alton's worst drug addicts. If there was a top 100 list for Alton's worst drug addicts in the history of Alton, I'm sure I would rank somewhere on that list. I was the drug addict in the room that everybody else who was doing drugs with me would say when the drugs ran out, dude, you need to get some help. And so I found that help in the Ministry of Adult and Teen Challenge in 2011. And so we just got back from Fiji, and we are Global Teen Challenge missionaries. And so, and what we do is we assist in pioneering and developing Teen Challenge, Adult and Teen Challenge. I got to remember to say that because we work primarily with adults. One of the big confusions is, you're working with youth, but actually we work with adults. And so we assist in pioneering and developing adult and teen challenge centers wherever the Lord would lead us, both overseas and for now it's in the Asia-Pacific region. And then in addition to that, once COVID hit and shut the globe down in 2020, the Lord also expanded our mission to include U.S. missions here in the U.S. to assist with whatever adult and teen challenge center we can be of assistance to. And that has primarily been Women and Children's Center, a very unique center in Columbia, Missouri, and that is and it's a very unique center. I think it's like one of 20 in the country that will allow a mother to bring her child in up to the age of 5 into the program with her. And so we, but you can imagine that, you got 12 women coming off of drugs and their rowdy little kids all running around the place. Please, boy, it's a good time. Let me tell you, man. That's a good way to. You're either going to grow up into the character of Christ, or you're going to run out the door screaming, or both. I've done both actually. But first, another expansion that we have in our missions too. This is my wife Gulnaz. And she is God's grace in my life, one of the biggest examples of God's grace in my life. God gave me a pure and spotless bride all the way from Pakistan. I went to Fiji, yes, yeah. I went to Fiji in June of 2015. And, 7 years, man, and we just got that center up and running. I'll share about that in a moment. But you guys are coming on 7 years here. And that's pretty cool, man. That's like the number of completion, but not that means you're done here. I'm just saying that, it's a special number, and we're both sharing a special number for a season of our lives. But God sent me to Fiji when I started working with Global Teen Challenge in 2015, and I was single, never been married, and thought maybe I would meet my wife in Fiji, but no, that wasn't good enough. He shipped her in from Pakistan all the way to Fiji, and so that's how that worked out. But as a result, though, she comes from a family of church planters and ministers, grew up in a Christian home in Pakistan, and there is a great need in Pakistan for outreach and just general ministry and encouragement and some teachings. There's so many teachings we take for granted that Pakistan does not have access to. And so I'm going to let her share for several minutes on that, and then I'll come and close us out also on some more details of where we're at in our both overseas and U.S. missions with Global Teen Challenge.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your prayers. And God, He answered our prayers. Sometimes there are times whenever we are just ready to throw everything behind that God has been doing in our life. And we are ready to blame God for little things that comes in our way. And it's very easy. But my journey following him, he helped me to focus on the things that he have been doing in my life. And those are not small but big things that sometimes we ignore those things and his hand in our lives. But I'm grateful that he opens our eyes to focus, to pay attention on those things and on his hand, the things that he has been doing in us and in our life and around us. So it's not easy to follow him, especially growing up in Pakistan, face persecution in so many ways that even we cannot imagine. And when I came here in US and in Fiji, I saw and experienced religious freedom, and I love that. I love that. And I wish that freedom, people who are persecuting because of their faith, I wish that God also grant them that freedom to share the gospel, to preach Jesus, to preach and share about Jesus with other people. I asked God, I said, Lord, I don't want to cry this morning. But I think he didn't answer. So last time when we shared about that, our trip that was coming up last year for Pakistan. So I went there and for 3 months to visit my family, visit churches, my church members, and my fellows. And by the way, Seth was also about to join me for last 3 weeks in Pakistan, but because of COVID, he was stuck here. When he told me on the phone that I came positive, so I'm not going to be able to come to Pakistan. And on that moment, whenever he told me, it broke my heart. Because my brother, he was also going to get married, and people in my church, they were also looking forward to see him. My family, my relative, they were all there in that wedding and wanted to see him, but it didn't happen. But what you will do whenever things don't go in your way and according to your planning? What would you do? All we can do to just praise God and give glory to his name and just worship his name. That's all we can do. And in those moments, while my heart was broken, but still I trusted God. And I knew that God, he has plans. His plans are different than us. And I just trusted God and I thanked him. And then I came back, and my experience in Pakistan was so different. So different. And then I realized, when I went there, I realized that how much US and Fiji has spoiled me. I was not the same in both ways, good and bad. So when I went there, it was so refreshing, so beautiful. And my heart was touched deeply. just to meeting, visiting my people there, visiting my families, my relatives, my church member. And God reminded me my first love, that we forget whenever we are distracted by so many things in our life, even in ministry, we forget that first love. He reminded me that where I started my journey with God, and He had blessed me so much that I can't even imagine. So He reminded me all of that, and then after meeting church people and listening to their stories for 5 years while we were separated, I wasn't able to go in Pakistan. So what stories that I heard is just touched my heart and changed my perspective. I got to meet with people who faced persecution and who were dealing with persecution. There was one family, and I met them, and their son, he was pastor, and he was beaten to death because of his faith. People, they broke his backbone, his right arm, his right leg. So when I met them, I talked to him. I asked him that, in those moments, what he was feeling. He said, I thought that I'm going to die. But then he said, you know what? It's all behind me. When I was on the bed, going through with that trauma and everything, pain, he said, I trusted God and I still praise God. Until today, I am praising His name, because without Him, I can't live my life. I can't imagine my life without God. He said, I need Him. I want Him. I want to finish my race very well. I want to finish my fight. And then other family in our church, they were going through persecution, and people who were against that family, I can't share about and release a lot of information about that. But they came to us, and we prayed, and even when I left Pakistan, still they were going through a lot of stuff. And in March of this year, my family told me that God delivered them, and He changed the heart of other people who were against them and who wanted them to send them in prison. And I give glory. I can't see anything, and I cannot find anything about God that will tell me to walk away from God. I see Him everywhere. I feel Him. And right now, this morning, my heart was very heavy because my own family member, they are going through a serious persecution. And I got one message this morning, and it's just, it distracted me, and I asked God, Lord, I don't know what to share and what to say. I don't have strength in me. And He reminded me Psalm 34, where David, he is saying, I will bless the Lord at all time. I will pray, His praise will be on my lips always. All times. I'm sure every one of you know what all times mean. whenever our prayers are not answered, whenever what we are expecting we are not getting that, all times we mean that whenever things are not going in our way and according to our planning and what we want, even whenever people are standing against us, against our faith and persecuting us, all times mean whenever Apostle Paul were dealing with persecution and he was behind the cell and in prison, but still he was praising God. That's what all times mean. Whenever Daniel was surrounded by lions, and still he was trusting God and praising his name. And when Stephen was stoned by his enemies, people who are against him, and still he was praising his name. That's what all times mean. And it encouraged me in a big way. So my time in Pakistan was so beautiful, touched my heart. And I can't, sometimes, and then I also encountered those families who have little, but they are so grateful. You can see the real, genuine joy on their faces. They are so grateful. One family, I remember, they were renting a place and it wasn't a good place at all. They had one room and they invited us over dinner. And when I got there, my family got there, it was just so touching. And same time I was thinking, man, I wish I have something big for them. Their love was genuine. Joy, there was genuine on their faces, and how they were praising God and how they were thanking God, the little they had, and all I could hear from them, just God, what He has been doing, and they were so excited while they were sharing with us. It was so beautiful experience for me, and then I was thinking maybe God needs to bless us less in order to make us to be grateful for little things that He have that we ignore all the time. But I have also, want to tell you that Pakistan, people who are persecuting there, they need prayers. So please, in your daily prayer, not even in Pakistan, people who are all around the world, please keep them in your prayers, because they need prayers. They need the spirit of braveness to still, while they are going through so much and dealing with so much, they need God. They need a spirit of braveness in them to still keep going and still trusting God. Even when they see death in front of them, they need God. They need strength from Him. So please keep them in your prayer. And then about Fiji, I would let my husband to share about that, because I don't want to take that from him. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your love, your support, for your prayers, for everything.
Thank you for tuning in with us today. Our prayer is that you are blessed by today's message. Remember, you can find out more about BCC and what's going on at our church by simply going to www.bccme.org. Be sure to follow us on Facebook to stay encouraged and up to date on what's going on here at BCC. And thanks again for tuning in, and we hope that you have a blessed day.